Welcome. I'm Megan Billingsley, and I'll be leading our conversation today. With us is Jade Terraberry. Jade is the Senior Director of Strategic Planning at AutoTrader and Kelley Blue Book. Welcome, Jade.
Thanks for having me, Megan.
So today we'll be breaking down the latest findings from Cox Automotive's new white paper, which reveals that dealers have poor visibility into what's actually driving their sales. And in fact, most dealers see, on average, 3% of what's driving their sales. So how can dealers get that visibility back? Let's start by taking a step back. Jade, what was the goal behind commissioning this white paper with Perficient, and why was it so important for Cox Automotive and the industry?
Well, Megan, dealers are flying blind on what is actually driving their sales and their profitability. And so we saw a need for an independent, data driven study and validation. And no matter if a dealer can afford this or not, we wanted to share it broadly. And so we're going to talk today about how to access it, how to start moving in this direction, and how third-party clairvoyant transaction data revealed these shocking gaps in tracking and attribution for the industry as a whole. And so we like to have somebody else grading our homework to share these insights with our dealer partners.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I'm looking forward to this so much. Were there any findings that truly surprised you or that you think will shock dealers watching today?
Well, many dealers use either a first touch or a last touch attribution model, which means they're only tracking two out of what the study found to be 62 average touch points for every consumer leading up to a sale. And so that means that most dealers have a 92% blind spot because 92% of their sales are actually invisible for real sourcing, accurate sourcing in their CRM system. And so the findings also showed us that 1 in 3 car sales happened with no lead form whatsoever, no phone call, no form, no chat, no direct trackable into the CRM. And we also learned that 48% of shoppers are starting their search on a marketplace, not a dealer site, not an OEM website. And so that really starts to help our clients understand how much influence counts and where their vehicles need to be, where the shopper eyeballs are at the beginning and the end of their journey.
Absolutely. And those numbers are a little staggering to me. What recommendations does the white paper make for dealers who want to improve marketing measurement and ROI?
Well, ROI is the key word, but that starts with switching from that first and last touch attribution model to truly a weighted engagement formula to measure what is actually driving deals. Work backwards from close rate, close sales, because it's one of the few things that you can actually compare apples to apples across rooftops, across salespeople, across store managers that are working or desking deals, because you can't pay the bills at the end of the month with a stack of leads. And so we've got to move as an industry beyond cost per lead and onto true ROI driven metrics that track high value consumer engagements, not just lead volume. Cost per lead has been one of the biggest sticking points for our industry for so many years. And I've seen it again and again. 5 of my 10 years with Cox, I ran all of our sales analytics for AutoTrader and Kelley Blue Book. And we did it over and over again with large, mid, and small groups. And what we always find, and it's like a light bulb that goes off for dealers when they realize that it's generally their poorest operating or lowest performing, least profitable stores that have the lowest cost per lead. And it's really common sense. If it takes a dealership 35 leads on a car to sell the same car that the sister store down the street only takes 6 or 7 leads to sell the same vehicle, the cost per lead is going to be lower for the ones that are poor operators, poorly following up, and don't have processes that are creating that relevant two-way communication with consumers that is driving them to close at a higher rate. So shifting to true multi-touch attribution and understand what is really driving sales is critically important.
Yeah, those are great insights. Thank you so much. Jade, what pain points are you seeing most often in dealerships right now, and how is data helping solve those challenges?
Well, it's that same disconnect between marketing and sales. You often have a marketing department that is compensated and or driving to optimize against things like a cost per VDP. How many VDPs does it take to sell a car? Just one, if it's the right consumer on the right car at the right time. They're optimizing towards a cost per lead as opposed to looking at the big picture of what is driving sales and profitability. And profitability is the only thing that guarantees we're still going to have the doors open next month. So, under investing in high performing channels and then not using data. Data needs to be at the core, a full set of weighted engagement data tracking all of those high value events, connecting the dots to guide smarter spend decisions and expose blind spots for a dealership. Those are the most important things.
Excellent points. Thank you. One more question for you. For dealers looking to close out 2025 strong, what's your biggest piece of advice based on these findings?
Well, know your strategy, know your market share, and know where your money is going. Track what is actually driving those transactions and driving your dollars, not just what's easy to measure. That's where we got hung up on these cost pers over the last decade in our business. It was something that we felt like we could sink our teeth into, and it was easy. And so don't wait. Start using smarter measurement tools today. Invest to win, invest to understand what is working and what is not, because your competition sure is. And we see market share shifting daily as a result.
Fantastic advice. Well, that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you, Jade, for joining us today, and to all of you for tuning in. To learn more about today's findings, you can download the research report from the link on this page. Have a great day, everyone.